This is the Western Conservative Political Action Conference. And I heard Mr. Keene say it was, what was it, the first annual? Is that right?
Hopefully.
Okay, now we're with today one of the rare human beings that you'll ever see. He's never on camera very much. He's too busy behind the scenes doing great stuff for the state of California and conservatives and political people everywhere in the country, and we just love him so much. But this is Bill Saraceno, and Bill is someone that I had the opportunity to meet as a small child, believe it or not. And well, I was actually in college at University of Southern California.
Fight on.
Yes, sir. Even in spite of our detractors from Stanford.
A mere bump in the road.
Exactly. At any rate, I wanted to spend some time with you because this is a first-year event. We're in a very strange spot in the road. The actual mission statement of this conference is to remember the image of Ronald Reagan and all of his values. And as a result of that fact, I guess the first question I will ask you is, who is the religious or philosophical leader of the Republican Party in the United States today?
Well, I think one of the difficulty of the Republican Party.
Of the Republican Party.
Speaking as a Republican, if you narrow it that way, it's obviously the president. I mean, I think any time you have a president of a
having
party,
said that,
yes.
If it's not,
you mean conservative or Republican?
We're saying conservative conference now.
Okay, right.
So who would be our conservative leader of our nation as a Republican in the image of our closest to Ronald Reagan?
One of the difficulties that the movement has nationally is that there isn't anybody who fits that mold comfortably as of yet. And I think one will emerge, but I think it's also a problem with conservatives to keep waiting for the next Reagan. There is never going to be another Ronald Reagan. He was unique in many, many ways. That doesn't mean there won't be people who embody his values, hopefully his ability to communicate, which is one of the things that made him unique, make our philosophy non-threatening, and explain it to folks in a way that is easy to understand.
All right.
Right now, there isn't anybody on the national level.
Let's get down to brass tacks here. A guy named Newt Gingrich said he was going to run, and then he decided not to run. A guy named Fred Thompson said he was going to run, and then he decided he wasn't. Well, he's wait. Now he's going to run. And now we're down to like three front runners. We have Rudy Giuliani, we have Fred Thompson, and we have Mitt Romney. Those are the basic three. Now, there are some other guys involved in the process,
That's true.
But right now, based on what most people know across the country, name one of those three that you think has got a better chance.
Well, if I knew that, I'd be in Las Vegas putting my money down. Frankly, if I could wave a magic wand and make anybody president of the people that you just mentioned,
sure,
it would be Newt Gingrich. Because I think he is, for all of his baggage, for all of his personal peccadillos, and he's got plenty of them, from a conservative idea, philosophical point of view, he is far and away, he blows away the rest of the field.
But he's not in the game.
He's not going to run, so I can't do that. Frankly, my attitude about the Republican field, and there are some non-starters who would make great presidents, like Duncan Hunter, would make a great president. But my feeling about the Republican field is that they're all okay, but even with Thompson in there, there isn't anybody that lights my fire, which is unusual because when you and I were starting to get active in politics, Barry Goldwater was still active, Ronald Reagan was active, we had people and I've always had a year out, 18 months out of the election, a favorite for president.
Yeah.
This year I don't. They're all okay. Because for me, and I understand there are conservatives who differ from me, but for me, keeping your eye on the ball means who can beat Hillary Clinton.
Well, there you go. Now, let's step on that for a minute. One of the things that everybody seems to grasp at this moment is that Hillary and Barack Obama are going to be the team for the other side.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's just, for the moment,
for the argument, okay,
for the argument, for the open argument, let's say Hillary and Barack Obama are going to be for the other side. Name your top two guys to run, or top two men, women, whoever it would be to run against that team.
Well, I would think in that case, assuming it's Hillary and Hussein Obama who are running, that I think of the top three guys you mentioned.
Yes.
I mean, put 3 names in the bag and pick 2. Although I expect Giuliani would not accept the second spot.
Right.
I think either of the other 2 probably would.
Okay.
And really, my bottom line on the 2008 elections, there are 2 things that matter: the war on terrorism and the courts. And that being the case, with various degrees of comfort, I'm comfortable with any of the top 3.
Okay, let's go back to those 2 issues you talked about.
So you show me, you give me convincing evidence that any combination of those 3, or anybody else, has a substantially better chance to beat Hillary and Hussein than anybody else, and that's where I'm going to end up.
Well, you think much like we do, and I knew that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I knew that you were brilliant, but I didn't know you were that
good.
That's
sad.
At any rate, back to something that you hit on that we've got to really discuss. What's going to separate the Republicans from the Democrats as far as arguments are concerned? I mean, there are. If you'll be so kind as to name 4 issues that are Republican-based issues as opposed to Republican or Democrat or Green
Party issues. Well, I don't know if I can name 4, but I'll start.
Okay.
And the first two I just mentioned, the war on terrorism and the courts. The Democrats won't even acknowledge that we're in a war, number one. And that is a matter of survival of the country. Because if we lose the war on terrorism, it doesn't matter what your position is on life or guns or taxes or the 10th Amendment or anything else, number one. Number 2, the courts. And it's almost as serious, runaway judges are almost as serious a threat to our freedoms in the long term as are the Islamofascists. So those are 2 that I would mention. And the third I would just mention is, although it doesn't get discussed in the presidential campaign, is who understands the fact that Ronald Reagan said so eloquently, government is the problem, not the solution. And none of the Democrats do. There are a couple of Republicans you have to wonder about this. George Bush has been wonderful on the courts. He has been very good on tax cuts. But he has been awful for introducing this concept of big government conservatism, which is as much an oxymoron. And if there are any UCLA students watching, an oxymoron means a contradiction in terms, like a square circle or a round square.
This is the reason why we will get the bell back.
There can be no such big government conservatism.
Right.
Just is ridiculous. But that is what the president has introduced. That is why we lost the control of the Congress in 2006, because we were spending like Democrats. We were acting corrupt like Democrats. We went to Washington to change the city, and by 2006, the city had changed us. And the voters saw that, and that's why they threw the Republicans out, and they deserve to be thrown out.
Let's look at some supposition here. When George Bush did the No Child Left Behind Act, yes, we covered him out at Ontario, and we actually thought that wasn't a bad idea.
Me neither at the time.
Okay. Then comes along this immigration issue, which is it's no 800-pound gorilla. It's a pack of 800-pound gorillas, and the country says, please close our borders, and no one listens. The president won't listen. The Congress won't listen. Nobody listens. Everybody at the local level nods their head up and down like they're a doggy in the window, and nobody does anything. What's going to happen, no matter who wins next year? What's going to happen with this immigration issue?
Well, I wish I knew. And it's easy. It's difficult to judge what candidates are saying unless you look at what they've done. And on the immigration issue, frankly, it's one where Giuliani is very weak on his record. And frankly, so is Romney on his record. That was then, this is now, they will say. I think the immigration issue is one that is vastly underestimated as a powerful issue. It reminds me, it gets the blame incorrectly for Republican defeats in 2006. And nothing could be farther from the truth than that. The attitude, the establishment attitude about the immigration issue reminds me of the establishment attitude about Proposition 13 in 1976 in 1977. Oh, that doesn't matter. Oh, Howard Jarvis is this wild man. And he was a wild man. But he had the pulse of the people on that. And immigration cuts across ideological lines, except for the most extreme liberals. It cuts across party lines. In fact, you have an element of the Republican coalition, big business, who is aligned with the far left elements of the Democrat Party on the immigration issue. But from the middle class, the Republican base, and the Reagan Democrats, who are still out there, places like Lakewood and Bellflower and up and down the Central Valley, they understand the immigration issue because they see it every day when they drive down the street.
Now, this is an issue, though, because of this banking free fall and the credit crunch right now, all the people that were normally waiting out there at Home Depot to collect jobs every day is drying up, and there's no jobs out there for these people anymore. Are they going to naturally just go home?
No, but why should they? They can apply for welfare. Larry Elder, seriously, Elder, who is a radio host in L.A., I believe he's syndicated nationally, makes the point, very libertarian point, and he is a little more moderate on the immigration issue than I am. But he makes the very good point that if we took away the social benefits for illegals here, they would go home. Because the ones that are here to work, frankly, I can make a point that if they're here to work and pay taxes and obey the law, that's one set. If they're here to collect their welfare check, that's another set. And if we cut out the social benefits, the ones that we don't want would go home. But that's not going to happen anytime soon.
One of the issues, though, that they're going to say is, well, these people now are out committing crimes, robbing homes, doing illegal things that they wouldn't do if we were still in a very boom environment in our economy and still growing.
They also wouldn't be doing it if they were back where they belong, in whatever country that is. I don't care whether it's Mexico or Tibet or Italy, which my family came from. That's irrelevant.
Okay, now listen, let's step up this little exercise here. This is excellent. I just want to know one more thing now. Okay, we've got the biggest issue of all, based on what the Democrats will tell us, is it's this bogus, I love this, bogus, lied to, we've been lied to, we've done all about the war in Iraq. Regardless of what has been said and what has been done for 5 years, we're still there. Now, my question is, if the Republicans get in, what are they going to do? And if the Democrats get in, what are they going to do?
Yeah. As far as no Democrat has any standing to say we've been lied to, and here's why, Democrats. Do you remember this? I did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky, and I never told anybody to lie about it, not once. So they have no standing to say we've been lied to. We were not lied to. I mean, it's a basic semantic misunderstanding. Lying is when you purposely misrepresent the facts. The president and his administration have terribly mishandled the aftermath of the war. But if you go back to the intelligence that they had, then the intelligence that President Clinton and Madeleine Albright, his Secretary of State, both said that, yes, of course, Saddam Hussein, not Hussein Obama, of course Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Every intelligence service in the world believed that, including the most reliable one, which is the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service. If you go back and you look at the information the president had in the run-up to the Iraq war, not acting would have been an impeachable dereliction of duty.
I agree with you, but the issue at hand
your question was, what do the Republicans do?
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of, as much as it makes me uncomfortable to agree with Colin Powell on anything, he did make a very relevant point about Iraq, and that's I think he called it the pottery barn rule. You broke it, you bought it.
Right.
We're there, we have to put it back together again. We cannot